Good day, everyone. Welcome to Canadian music in the 80s and 90s and more. Hope you like what you see. If you do, please subscribe. This is someone I've actually been trying to get on for a while now, and I'm glad to finally have him here because I listen to his podcast all the time. It's wonderful. Toronto Mike. Thanks for joining me, Mike. I appreciate it.
Alan, it's my pleasure. You know, I like to play hard to get.
That's the way to do it, right? No, I really appreciate you doing this. Yeah, I listen all the time. You have just about how many shows have you done now? You've done
Oh, so to on what is that? I'm at 1852, I think. So
wow.
yeah, 1852.
And when did this start? Like what year did this all start?
August 2012. So we're,
2012.
we're going back a good what is that? Do the math for me. That's tough. 14 years almost.
Yeah. Yeah. 14 years this year. Wow. That's amazing. Um, and you're doing something, right? Because you're still doing it. So,
I'm just crazy enough to keep going.
and what was your background before you got started in this? Like, did you work in radio before or?
No, no, never worked a day in radio. My background was basically I was a senior manager of digital marketing for B2B software companies. Like I did
Okay.
that forever, like from the time that was invented until 2018. And then along the way, because I'm a curious cat, I started a blog like in 2000 and no, in 1999 I started a personal homepage and it morphed into a blog in 2002. And then suddenly in 2006 podcasting started to like emerge. Apple in iTunes they added podcasts, and I technically produced Humble and Fred's podcast in
Mhm.
2006, December 2006. So that's the first time I was involved in a podcast, and I never had the courage to speak into a microphone until August 2012.
And we haven't been able to stop you since. And that's
Yeah,
that's
you know, I haven't shut up since August 2012.
so you must have learned a lot working with like veterans like Humble and Fred to get started.
Well, the main thing I learned from them is how to bake in sponsor mentions into your show. So like I learned
Right.
how to like weave it in without stopping. Although the ironic thing is they now stop down for an ad break, which I'm still like allergic to. But the other
Yeah.
thing I learned from those guys is that they did it live to tape because they had all that radio experience. And that's when I realized, okay, we're gonna like you're doing it now, but like I'm gonna do the intro live with the music's all live, the whole conversation is live. I'm gonna play you out with the music live, and then that's gonna be the podcast. There's zero editing in a typical Toronto Mic'd episode.
I know that's what I love about it. I love the fact that you're hearing the unfiltered conversations you're having with your guests, and anything goes. If you get off subject a little by, so be it. But you always wind up getting back on what the subject's about,
Well,
which is
not all the time, but I got better at that as I did it. Like I used to go on a tangent, and I never got back to the original point. But now it's like I take a mental note, come back here after your tangent. I got a lot better at that as I worked on it.
I love your podcast. I listen every day. I think it's fantastic. And it's great to actually talk to you finally. Who do you remember who your first guest was?
Well, that's it. The first like 30 episodes or so weren't guest related. It was me and a co-host would talk about what's going
Okay.
on in the world. I started introducing some guests, nobody particularly famous, but I would grab somebody nearby and interview them just to put in reps. And I don't know when I got my first Toronto mic'd episode as it is now, but I think it was probably like Freddie P from Humble and Fred who
Okay.
came over for like early 30s, like I don't know, 34. And then we did an episode, and then you had Humble Howard over, and then I'd have Bingo Bob over, and then I'd have
Right.
like people related to the show, like I don't know, Jeff Merrick, for example. And then
Yeah.
next thing you know, it is like, oh, this is what Toronto Mike does, and then you just roll with it.
Because you've had a lot of not just Toronto legends, because you're a Toronto force. You've had lots of like just amazing Canadian legends on your show as well. Like I've interviewed Blair Packham. You've had him on your show. He's probably one of the best guests you could ever have because he never stops talking, which is great. Um, and we've interviewed Duncan Femlin, both of us. He's a good friend of mine, and Just
Yeah.
I've read some of the guests you've had, not just it's I was thinking I mostly cover music, but you've covered everything from like acting, actors, media people to musicians to um anything else I'm missing here?
Well, my favorite episodes are the music episodes. Like I can tell
Yeah.
you, those are the ones I enjoy the most. But for a long time, I did a lot of radio people and
Mhm.
sports media personalities. Like that was kind of for a long time that was my bread and butter, if you will. Like, oh, this is where you're gonna Ron McLean will drop by, or Elliot
Mhm.
Friedman will drop by, or Dave Hodge will drop by. A lot of that. But yeah, lately, like the most exciting episodes, like we're recording on a Wednesday, and I'm gonna drop my next episode is going to be Gordy Johnson from Big Sugar.
Oh,
Like,
amazing.
so now that's my new, I mentioned to you before we press record, you mentioned Duncan Fremlin. Well, he came over with Sean Cullen, and it was a great episode talking about Stompin' Tom Connors. But then 2 days later, I had Dave Bedini in the basement from the Real Statics, and he has a fascinating link to the Stompin' Tom Connors comeback of the mid to late 80s. So, like, all these musician pieces, they all kind of fit together, and I love it. And if they'll talk to me, not everybody, I noticed the low hanging fruit has fallen. So now I feel like I'm working extra hard to get these, newbies. But I did just get Simone Denny over, and she was part of that Chris Shepard dance act.
Okay.
Do you remember Love Inc?
I do. Yeah.
You're a superstar. That's my only
And
singing you're ever going to hear. But, now I'm into like, I'm trying to get Liberty Silver to come by, like
right.
these kind of, I'm trying to get who am I working on? Dream Warriors. I want the Dream
Oh,
Warriors,
okay.
Capital Q and King Lou. So it's not just rock, it's all over the place.
No, it's great. And it's not just, Toronto legends, it's
No,
Canadian legends, period. But a lot of them happen
absolutely.
to live in Toronto, I guess, so that helps a lot. So
Except as Alfie Zappacosta lives in Edmonton. I want the people to know that. I had to Zoom with him in Edmonton, Alberta.
he was my first big interview, actually.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Alfie Zappacosta?
he came to Charlottetown. I just sent him a Facebook message and he said, "Yeah, come by my sound check. We'll have a chat." I'm just
Wait,
like, "Okay."
okay, I'm sort of processing this. First of all, you're in Charlottetown?
Yes. But
I didn't know that.
I grew up in Mississauga actually, so
Okay.
but I've
All
been
right.
here for 6 years now, so I have a lot of respect for the Toronto thing because I spent
Well,
most of my life there.
what brought you to Prince Edward Island?
Work. My wife got a really good job here. Um, my
Oh.
dad is from here, so I have lots of family here. It wasn't a strange place to move to. I've been coming here for a long time. It's been like a second home, and Toronto is getting kind of expensive for
No, I
the
noticed.
Ontario period.
I noticed, but how are the winters in Prince Edward Island?
Actually, you probably had a worse winter here than we have.
This is a bad one.
And last year, I think you guys got more snow than we did. It actually hasn't been that bad.
Is there good biking trails in Prince Edward Island?
Yes, there's a trail called the Confederation Trail. It basically used to be the railroad that ran across the entire Prince Edward Island. It's a beautiful trail. You can go from tip to tip on PEI just by
How
biking
many
there.
kilometers is it tip to tip?
I'd say about in the neighborhood of 300 kilometers.
Okay, so that's I don't go over, well, 130 is about my limit, I think, for a bike ride actually. 130 kilometers.
You should come here and make a trip of it.
Well, listen, I've been there with the family. I think it was just before the pandemic. I think it was 2019 I was there.
Mhm.
And like loved it. I'm still tasting that cow's ice cream, right? Like I loved it. And
It's
I loved
fantastic.
I loved it. Shout out to Anne of Green Gables. And I would love at some point I'd love to come back and do like to bike Prince Edward Island. Like that
Right.
sounds amazing.
And visit the Stomp and Tom Center since you've been doing the Stomp and Tom thing the past couple of episodes.
Do you know what Canadian rock star was born in Prince Edward Island? Well,
Haywire.
you know what? Haywire. I could, Drop the Needle was a sample from a Haywire song.
It absolutely was used on Let Your Backbone Slide by
Yep, used
Maestro.
well, no, no, used on "Drop the Needle," which was the second single from Symphony in Effect. So, "Drop the Needle,"
Yeah.
and that came from "Dance Desire."
Yes, that's right.
But
That's
the
the
guy I'm
original.
thinking of, who's from Prince Edward Island, because this band comes up a lot on Toronto Mike, Chris Murphy from
Oh,
Sloan.
Oh, I thought they were from
Well,
Halifax.
they are no, they are from Halifax, but Chris Murphy's from Prince Edward Island, and then they moved at some point to Nova Scotia when he was a kid. But he's from Prince Edward Island.
Okay. Well, I mean, as you know, probably the Maritimes is a really hotbed for good music. And in the 90s, I had a real surge. I like to cover stuff like that because I
Well, do you
remember,
want to talk about that? Because I just had Tara Sloan over here. You know
okay,
what?
yeah,
I say that, but actually, as I remember, at the last minute, because of weather, she asked if we could do it on Zoom. I tried, like, I know you got to, when you're living in Prince Edward Island, I think you have to do a lot of Zooms, but I
I
try to
do.
get people in the basement because this is Toronto, for goodness sakes. You know, a lot of people are here. But Tara, I am of the opinion, having talked to Tara Sloan about her relationship with Sloan, that possibly Sloan have named their band after Tara Sloan. They just changed the
Okay.
spelling because Tara Sloan and Jay Ferguson worked at the Halifax Sam the Record Man together.
Okay. Yeah, that might that
It checks out. I think it checks out. So I will. I mean, I've talked to all the guys. Have you talked to the Sloan guys?
I have not. I would love to.
You got to do that. You got to do that.
I really want to talk to Trans Canada Highwaymen, the project that Chris Murphy's got going with Moberg,
Yeah. Stephen Page,
Stephen Page, and Craig
Craig
Northey
Northey.
from The Odds. Like, what a combination! Like, just
Oh yeah, I've seen them. I saw them at the Horseshoe, and they play like their best songs from each of their bands, and then they do some like classic, like April Wine and all these classic Canadian songs. It's pretty good.
it's amazing. I bought the CD. I still buy CDs. I still buy records. I love it. Like they do just such great, fun versions of some classic
Yeah, like
songs.
Guess Who, Come Undone, and then I'm
Yeah,
thinking there's a Gino Vanelli song in there. I think
yeah, there is too. I don't. I
definitely April Wine.
Yeah, there's definitely April Wine and some of those classic one-hit wonders from the 70s that
Yeah,
were played on, and they're all Canadian.
like Edward Bear and whatever these these 70s one-offs. I had this, I don't know if we're similar vintage, but I had a 4 CD collection called Oh Canada.
I have it.
Okay,
I
so I
think there
remember
was
I
two of them that came out, but I had the first one, and
yeah,
it was
so
a
the
red
first one I
cover.
had too. And there's a lot of what we're talking about, these one-hit wonder CanCon jams. Like these are 4 CDs full of big Canadian hits. And there's a bunch of those songs on that collection. I used to spin those albums all the time.
And they came out in like I think every CD was like an era. Like I think the four CD was mostly 80s, and then it was like 70s, 60s, and just yeah, it would really every CD was like a certain era of Canadian music, and it was just like, wow, you didn't know these guys are Canadian? That's great.
Well, yeah, no, it was a good intro because, yeah, of course, you know already, you know, going in. Oh, yeah, Russia's Canadian, you know, Anne
Sure.
Murray's Canadian, you know, speaking of the Maritimes. And you
Yeah.
know, these big, you know, Guess Who or whatever, or Sarah McLachlan, okay?
Yeah.
But you're right. Some of these jams you're listening to and you're like, oh, I know this from the radio. And you know, it's like to quote Maestro Fresh West, nah, this kid can't be from Canada. Like, it's pretty cool.
Oh, and I think he lives in the Maritimes now too, actually, from what I've heard. He's moved
St.
out
John,
here.
New Brunswick.
He's moved out to New Brunswick, and he's been here for quite some time now, but he lives
Moved during the pandemic. I gave him the gears for leaving us, but he said it was during the pandemic for his kids' schooling.
yeah, not the only Canadian legends that have moved out here to the Maritimes, actually. I don't know if you remember Brian Potvin from Northern Pikes.
Yeah, I saw him open up for the Watchmen at the Danforth Music Hall. They call it Kane and Potvin.
Yeah, and Kevin Kane from Grapes of Wrath has moved out this way too. So I see them playing around the Maritimes quite a bit. And
Who else
it's
is out there? You know what blows my mind? Can I just shut it? Because I love the Merit. I've only been once, but I like to pretend
yeah,
I
for
get there
sure.
more often. But I'm a big Classified fan,
Yep.
and he
Yep.
was in the basement. And of course, well, his biggest hit is Inner Ninja. But I also like another song he did with the same singer songwriter. The day doesn't die. The day. But
Right.
this guy, David Miles, is an MP now.
Yeah. Just like who else was? Andrew Cash was for a while.
Well, yeah, and the other guy
And
from L'Étranger, who
Charlie
is
Angus.
Charlie Angus, who since we were talking about Banjo Dunk and Fremlin, but Banjo Dunk will tell you when Trump started talking 51st state, I said, Charlie, I need you in the basement now.
Yeah.
Charlie came in the basement, we talked it out, and that was like a big, you know, spark that lit a fire. I mean, Charlie Angus has been touring on that ever since.
That's what I love about your podcast because I don't think anything goes on your podcast. It's
Yeah.
great. Like, I mean, you can talk about anything and everything, and you do. And it's like I said, I love the fact that it's unscripted, and it can go off in any direction. And I love that. And that's why I do here. I don't edit. I like, if someone like yourself who's been doing this for so long wants to talk for the next half an hour, you go right ahead. You know,
I'll tell you all my my Sloan theories. Love those guys. I think Sloan is the most under. I'm going to say this. It's going to be, maybe it's a hot take. I don't know, but the most underappreciated band this country's ever produced is Sloan.
oh, they're fantastic. I actually, before I moved here, we went to see the Rolling Stones up at Burroughs Creek, and it was close to Canada Day. Anyway, Sloan was on that bill as well,
Okay.
and I think they were the best band of the day. They
I
they
wouldn't argue with you.
they got up, they didn't do anything but play their hits. Like they knew everyone there wasn't looking to hear like songs they didn't know, so they just got on stage and for an hour and a half they played every song you would ever know by Sloan and heard on the radio back in the 90s. And it
Hey,
was fantastic. Like, I mean, I thought they were better than the Rolling Stones. I
it's funny
really
because
did.
I just teased that my next guest is Gordy Johnson from Big Sugar, and a big moment was Big Sugar opened for Rolling Stones as well. Like, it's fun to track down these Canadian artists who opened for the Stones when the Stones came to Canada.
Funny enough, actually, I'm a huge Big Sugar fan as well. I've seen them about 3 or 4 times back in the 90s, but their album 500 Pounds,
Yeah,
the drummer on that record was a guy named Al Cross.
I saw that Al Cross, right? Just like
Yeah,
Alan Cross. Yeah.
Al Cross was playing drums for Duncan Fremlin on February 9th at the Horseshoe.
See, you and I have a lot in common because that's the stuff I like to hook to my veins. Like, let's talk about what a small freaking world this is, what a small industry, how it
It
all
is.
connects.
It is. It's amazing how some people are connected. Like, I mean, I was amazed when Duncan brought Douglas John Cameron into the band because I knew Mona with the Children
Me
very
too.
well. I
Me
have
too.
like 3 copies of it. I have the single, I have the record, I have the tape of all things.
No, it affected me too when it first came out, and I never forgot that song. And it was wild because Duncan brought Douglas, John Douglas Cameron. What's the full name?
Douglas John Cameron.
Douglas John. I got it inverted. Brought him over, and I couldn't believe, oh, there's the Mona and with the children guy. Like, that was amazing to me. I agree.
Oh, it was a
Yeah.
big hit. I remember it getting played all the time on Much Music and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Did you have anything to do, or did you get involved in the CFNY documentary that just came out?
Well, I'm only involved in that I cover it like a journalist. Okay, I've been doing a lot of
Right.
coverage on it, but so I think I might be the only place in the world where you can find an in-depth conversation with the director of that documentary. Like, I don't think so. I mean, I could you could prove me wrong, go Google it or whatever. But the production company didn't authorize the director to talk about the doc, believe it or not. There's a lot of muck going on there. But
Hmm.
I'm not one to follow such rules. These rules don't apply to me, Alan. So I
Yeah.
reached out to Matt, and his name's Matt Schichter, and we talked for like an hour, and it was kind of fascinating to find out. Okay, when you delivered a 90-minute version, and then they needed a 60-minute version, you delivered that, and then I got to watch both versions, and then I got to
Yeah.
see what did TVO air, TV Ontario here, and then compare the versions, and then have discussions about that. So I've been all over the doc just because I love to cover that station, CFNY.
Well, the only thing I love the documentary, don't get me wrong. I also love the Much Music documentary that went across the country because it came here to Charlottetown as well. The only thing I was really disappointed about is neither doc covered how they really broke some really big Canadian bands back in their early days, like CFNY and Much both broke Canadian bands, and they didn't really cover on that. They were just kind of just covering the
Well, I have an
international
answer for
bands.
that. I have an answer for that. Is that these filmmakers are so focused on appealing to an international audience, which actually often means an American audience. Like, they're
Yeah.
so afraid to make it Canadian centric because it will scare off the Yanks.
Yeah, I'm
But I
not
will
afraid
say,
to.
I know you're not afraid. I'm sorry, but the 90-minute version, where I might be, outside of the people who worked on it, I might be the only person who's seen the 90-minute version.
Right,
There is a good amount of love given to the Bare Naked Ladies because they got the
right,
$100,000 to make Gordon by winning a
right.
CFNY thing. And there was a bit about Billy Talent, a little bit about Billy Talent because
Yeah,
he worked there. Ben worked there. And there's a bit more about Blue Rodeo because I believe CFNY was the first station to play Blue Rodeo.
yeah, I would agree with that. And of course, Much Music was probably one of the first to play their videos as well. So,
Oh,
and
that's Michelle McAdory. So the beautiful face from the Try video, which was
right.
everything for Blue Rodeo, is a woman named Michelle McAdory who was
Hmm.
dating Greg Keeler at the time, but was the lead singer of a band called Crash Vegas.
Oh, amazing band.
Yeah. So, and that Colin Cripps was in that band, but Colin Cripps was also in, well, now he's in Blue Rodeo, but he
Yeah.
was also in Junk House, who I freaking love. And
Okay.
he was in Spoons for a little bit, but
Okay.
he was Kathleen Edwards' husband for several years. And then she,
Wow. I
she
didn't
left
know
him
that.
for Bon Iver.
Wow. I did not know that. See, you're giving me stuff. I thought I was a nerd here about Canadian
Oh,
music, but you know
no.
as much as I do, if not more, and it's great to talk to you about that.
Love Michelle McAdory.
Yeah, is she related to Bob?
She's the niece of Bob McAdory from 1050 Chum and Global TV.
Yeah, I remember he was one of my favorite entertainment reporters
Yeah.
back in the
He
day.
was
Like,
great.
yeah, he used to talk about when he used to be on the radio on 1050 Chum and used to sneak in Hank Williams records once in a
Okay.
while.
Yeah. No, he gone too soon, but yeah, Bob McAdory was one of my favorite guys too to watch doing entertainment on and he would do it like Elaine Loring. Do you remember this name?
Yep,
Elaine
I do
Loring?
remember that name. Yeah.
I now follow her on Facebook, but I invited her over and she seemed kind of hesitant, so I didn't want to bother her too much, but maybe one day.
Yeah, like I'm blown away at who I've been able to interview, period. Like, I mean,
Okay,
I've
give
been
me your favorites.
Rick Emmett. Um,
Oh yeah.
I can't believe I got to
Triumph.
talk
That's
to him
amazing.
still. Well, I mean, I grew up in Mississauga. I used to actually see him in the grocery store once in a while, but
Yeah.
um,
But
and
but
I
there's a big Blair Packham connection to Rick Emmett.
yeah, well, that's how I got to interview Rick. Blair was a big help in that. He told me Rick had a book coming out, so he'd probably be doing a lot of press. So I covered the book, and then of course I snuck in the Triumph questions at the end. But Rick's a great interview. He talks, and you hang on his every word because he's just a legend in Canadian, well, music period, not just Canadian music, but
Is this the poetry book?
the one about the Telecaster
Okay, because
tales.
he wrote a book of poetry,
Yeah.
and then I remember like sometimes like if someone comes on to talk about a poetry book, I have that internal debate like how much time do I give the poetry book because I have so many triumph questions, you know?
Well, the thing is, I think he did instrumental CD with the book, and
Okay.
Blair engineered it and produced it, I
Yeah.
think. So that's how I kind of got
Yeah.
into that. But I mean, I was blown away that I got to speak to him. I mean, Blair is one of my favorite interviews. He's a great talker, he's funny, and he's got a great insight to the music industry. I keep telling him he should write a book. Um, I've interviewed the Spoons, I've interviewed Gord and
Sandy?
Rob Bruce.
Oh, so Rob was here yesterday.
Oh, okay. Yeah, great
He
guy to
he was
talk to.
sitting right here yesterday because he comes over once a month for we call it toast, but it's a a thematic jam kicking. And I just want to say I am going to headline this event at the El Macombo, and my
Okay.
Paul Schaefer for this event is going to be Rob Bruce on keyboards, so he'll be on stage with me.
Amazing musician. Just, I mean, the fact the guy could leave the Spoons and just fit in with Honeymoon Suite the way he
Yeah,
did back in the 80s, just
and that
absolutely
got him a
amazing.
Juno Award.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I've interviewed uh Martha and the Muffins.
Yeah, okay. So it's via Zoom. Oh yeah, I was gonna say because Martha's I had Martha and Mark on for Martha and the Muffins, and she has multiple. I want to say is it Parkinson's? What does Martha
Yeah,
have? Okay.
yeah. I was actually surprised she came on to the Zoom call. I was
Yeah,
happy
well,
that
I
she
was surprised
did.
I got her in the basement because you have to come down the stairs, but we made it happen. I'm so like honored.
Two of the nicest people I think I've ever met. Like, just even though it was on Zoom, just fantastic people. She was a real trooper.
Yeah.
Um, she answered quite a few questions, and I was just blown away to have her on too. I've
Yeah.
interviewed a lot of local people as well, like around here. There's actually funny enough how I got started doing this. I started helping two guys run a Stomp and Tom fan club on Facebook.
It
So
it all comes back to Stomp and Tom.
I started interviewing people that played in his band, one being Duncan, and then Billy, who plays fiddle with him now in Whiskey Jack. Billy's a Prince Edward Islander.
Well, here I have in my studio. I've got you. You see there, I
Oh,
got my Whiskey Jack Stomp and Tom. The rhymes and good times of Stomp and Tom.
oh,
So
it's a great CD. Um, yeah, but I've been going to see Whiskey Jack for quite some time as well, just seeing them do their Stomp and Tom shows. And it just, when I started helping these two guys with the fan club, I'm like, I'm just going to start interviewing guys that played in his band
amazing.
for the Facebook group because I didn't know what else to contribute. So I started doing that, and then I started doing this on my own. And I can often cross post videos too, like the Stomp and Tom stuff fits right into the Canadian music thing and the Stomp and Tom group. So it's yeah, I've kind of enjoyed it. It's been a
What
lot of
well, you
fun.
need to have you talked to Dave Bedini yet?
I want to, I just can't nail down a time where him and I are
Right.
available at the same time, but I have spoken with him through emails and stuff like
Okay.
that.
Because his
Um,
story, like, because he was here last week and I just got the story fresh, but his story about finding Stomp and Tom, who was, well retired, he was
yeah,
done, and basically convincing Stomp and Tom that the country needed him. He needed to come back, and then all of a sudden, guys like me are seeing Margot's got the cargo and Reg has got the rig. Like we're watching Stomp and Tom videos on Much Music,
like what
like
a different time that was. Like, I mean, because he was in heavy rotation on Much
yeah,
Music back then.
big
I think
time.
he was even on the charts.
Well,
He was
that
on,
song there's a song that was like right there with me. I'd be watching that just alongside I'm an Adult Now or
yep. Oh,
Maestro Fresh West, whatever.
but that's what I loved about Much back then in general, because you'd think all those Canadian artists are superstars, just like Springsteen and Madonna were.
Yeah.
You
Well, you
know,
said the Spoons. You talked about having Gore Depp and Rob Bruce on, and one of my pet peeves about the CFNY doc. I know we moved on quickly from that, but one of my pet peeves is that they're so excited about OMD and they're going on about Buzzcocks, whatever. They're all about
oh, they had
what's
Simple Minds on as
Simple Mind, yeah,
well.
Jim Kerr,
Yeah,
right. Like they're all about Jim Kerr, but there's no love for a huge Burlington band that they helped break.
yeah,
Spoons, like and I know for a fact they interviewed Sandy Horn for that documentary, but left her on the
yeah.
cutting room floor. Like I feel like what Spoons is too Canadian. Americans don't know the band, but Americans know Simple Minds because Americans have seen Breakfast Club.
Oh, of course. The other thing that, what about a band like Skinny Puppy?
Oh, shout out to Chris Shepard.
And did you know, like one of the biggest, um, Nine Inch Nails, Trent Reznor was a huge fan of Skinny Puppy. Like they
You
would
can
not
hear it,
exist
yeah.
were it not for them. And they were
You're right, but
Canadian. Like,
Skinny Puppy was only played on CFNY during the late night live airs. Like they didn't
exactly.
make it into the daytime rotation.
But again, another band that had a huge, they were pretty much broke by CFNY, and you didn't realize what Trent Reznor was a big fan of them. Like, yeah, you can hear it, and you're just like, wow. Like, I don't
Well,
know. I thought that deserved covering too, like
well,
stuff like
that
that.
that is yeah, I mean, they weren't going to get to that in a 60-minute cut or even a 90-minute cut,
No,
but they did do a lot of time with they spent a lot of time on Chris Shepard, which they could have maybe leaked that in there. But one band I want to shout out because it's a huge Toronto band that was broken by CFNY was Lowest of the Low.
right,
Like they
right.
played so many singles from Shakespeare My Butt.
Yep, yep. And they
And
played
I
they
mean
played the
yours
Horseshoe a
truly.
lot too. They were
Oh
at the
God, yeah,
Horseshoe.
yeah. Lee's Palace, Horseshoe Tavern. I
Yeah,
mean, they're still going strong. Well, Stephen Stanley's not in the band anymore, but
right.
Ron Hawkins is still going strong. But yeah, like I'm listening to CFNY in the early '90s and hearing these songs. Bleed a Little While Tonight, just Rosie and Gray, which is my closing theme on Toronto Mic'd. And then, of course, Henry Needs a New Pair of Shoes, and I could go on and on. And it's like,
Salesman Cheats and
what is
Lies.
this? Yes, exactly. Like,
I still
what
crank
is
that
this?
song up to this day. Salesman Cheats and Lies
Yeah.
is a fantastic song. And
No.
you actually brought up one of my favorite bands from the '90s with Duncan and Sean was Rusty.
Yep. Love
What?
Rusty. I played them.
Yeah, you played them doing the hockey song, but
Yeah.
I'll always be a fan of that video where they mocked Alanis Morissette. That
Yeah.
was-
So that was Empty Cell, right? Was
that's
that Empty?
right. Yep.
Yeah. Empty Cell was the first single on the follow up, which was called Sophomoric, I think it was called. But that first album, Fluke,
Oh, it's
that's a
amazing.
playthrough. That's loaded. And that's another one. That's one of my all time favorite albums, Fluke.
Oh, same here. Like just they really did get a lot of Canadian bands did break in the '90s, and they were one of them, and getting played a lot on. That's another thing. They didn't really cover the Edge in the '90s,
Well,
where
that was
they
on purpose. So they said they only wanted to cover the spirit of radio era, which
right.
is the time that David Marsden is there.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Like the Brampton days when they were in the house and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And,
Yeah. So once I what is it? I know this. I should know this. I'm the official, the unofficial, because Ivor took offense when I called myself the official historian. But 87 is when Marsden leaves, and then there's
right.
this period of time when they're trying to sell the station for more money, so they start adding mainstream songs like George Michael or Madonna and
I
all this,
remember
and then
that.
there's
Yeah.
a uprising. But quickly back to Rusty. Scott McAuliffe starts Rusty, and he comes out of a band called the Doughboys,
I remember them. Yeah.
and they're out of Montreal. But their lead singer and founder and the main guy there is a guy named John Kastner, and I just got
Okay.
him on the show, and he's married to the Megan Draper from Mad Men.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's in California now. Megan Draper, whose real name is Jessica Pare, I believe is her real name. But you get a band called One Free Fall,
Hmm.
which is Ken McNeil and this guy Jim Moore. You take that band and you merge it with Scotty Mac, I call him, but Scott McAuliffe, who comes out of Doughboys, and
Hmm.
that's what creates here in Toronto. That's what creates Rusty. And man, Fluke. I've been promised. In fact, Jim Moore, who listens to every episode of Toronto Mike, he now lives in England. He was bassist with the Doughboys. He promises me that Scotty Mac is going to visit soon. We're going to book this, and he's going to come over and gift me Fluke on vinyl because it's now coming out
Wow.
on vinyl. But there you go. Shout out to Rusty.
I'll have to watch for that one for sure because I'll be listening to that one
Yeah.
most
Oh, and
most
last thing here,
definitely
and then it's
from
all
this.
your show, man. I'm going to stop taking over. But one last thing.
No, this is what
One
I
last thing
want.
here is the album that I madly, I still adore, and I've been listening to it since I first heard it, which was probably like '93. Is Everything I Long For by Hayden.
Oh,
Do you own this album?
I do. I do. I
Okay.
love Hayden. I remember a kid I worked with actually turned me on to Hayden. He gave me a tape, and
Okay, so
I was a fan right away.
the big Much Music single was called As Bad as They Seem.
Yes, that's right.
Filmed at the Rivoli, by the way, here on Queen Street. But Hayden, I love that album. Played it like crazy. I wrote him a snail mail in the mid '90s to tell him I love this album and I loved every cut on Everything I Long For. He kind of changed the sound, and I would always be like, "Oh, I really want you to stick to that sound. That's what I want." But he evolved as a songwriter and became more ethereal.
Right.
He changed. These are big words, okay? But somehow with my third born, I'm at a soccer game, a house league soccer game at Hyde Park, and my third born is starting to fall in love with soccer. And I look, and it's the first game of the season, so new parents and their kids. And I look over and I see Hayden. Okay, he's standing there watching this game, and
Yeah.
it's like I don't know, 8-year-olds or 9-year-olds or whatever. And I go up to him and I go, "You're Hayden Desser or something." And I told him how I just talked to Noah Mintz because they went to Thornley, and then Head comes out of this. And
Right.
on this CFNY New Music Search, Hayden entered a song called "Take," but he was too
Right.
nervous to sing it, and Noah sang it instead, and that blew my mind. And Hayden's kid was on my kid's soccer team, and I got to know Hayden, and I got him to come over. And I think, again, this is a big brag here, Alan, but I don't think you'll find a better interview with Hayden. If you search this planet for a million years,
Right.
it was Hayden in this basement, and because his kid was on my kid's soccer team.
Wow.
Okay, your turn now. I'm gonna stop. You drive the convo. I feel I've taken over.
No, this is what I wanted. This is
No,
what I
no wonder
wanted.
Blair likes this show.
Yeah, Anyway, the other thing that you guys touched on a little bit that I wanted to touch on is the I believe Mike Bullard didn't get a lot of credit for what he was doing in the 90s for Canadian industry because he had musicians from Canada, he promoted the film industry, he promoted the TV industry on his show, and he was making a good go of it there for a while, and I don't think he gets enough credit for that.
Hey, does your show allow swearing?
You can, yep.
I don't want to offend anybody. I never know. Okay.
No, no.
So you've hit a nerve because the late Mike Bullard was a fucking psychopath who threatened my life several times.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
So I'm telling you now, if you want me to start, if you're looking for kind words about Bullard's contribution to the Canadian music scene, you're going to have to talk to Blair Packham about that one.
Right. No, but
Psychopath, harass. I was talking to police. That man
yeah.
made my life very difficult for a period of time because he decided to target me and threaten me, and I had to block him everywhere, and I had to worry about this loony bin coming after me. No, Mike Bullard, who is dead, so this threat no longer exists. Sure, maybe he had on these cool bands, but fuck that guy.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I didn't mean to touch
No,
a
it's
nerve.
okay. It's okay. I just had to make sure I could swear before I went
No,
off
that's
on
fine.
the dead.
Well, the thing I loved is that I used to go get into the audience of his show whenever there was a band I liked. His audience coordinators used to sneak me in there.
Okay, good for that. That's good because the music's beautiful, but yeah, I
Well,
don't
I
know.
mean, I just thought it was really cool. They were like, because they said they wanted fans of whoever was going to be on the show in the audience. They didn't want a bunch of people who had no idea who these people were, which
Right.
was probably a good idea, to have
It's,
fans of these bands in there.
it's funny though that you're talking about, and this is, I'm guessing this is the concert hall, 888 Young,
Yeah, the old
Masonic
Masonic
Temple.
Temple. Yeah.
Right. It's funny because I was in the audience to see Conan O'Brien in 2003 when he was at the
Okay.
Winter Garden Theater, and his musical guest for the show I watched recorded was Stompin' Tom Connors.
Wow. That always gets back to Stompin' Tom again, doesn't it?
Yeah, and he sang the hockey song.
Of course.
Yeah. Which yeah, and I remember thinking, "Oh, this song talks about I can't remember it talked about was it Detroit and Toronto in the Stanley Cup final or something?" And I
Oh, it
was
might have been New Jersey or something like that. I think I remember I saw that episode and I was
oh,
like,
did he? Yeah.
why
I
is
can't remember,
Stompin'
but
Tom on an American television show? I couldn't believe that for starters,
well,
but
because the show was in Toronto, and I remember Ron James was the second guest. Adam Sandler
right.
was the first guest, but then
I
so
think
big
Jim
American
Carrey
guest.
was on it too.
Yeah, one
Or
day probably. Yeah. So my show though, Ron James came on, and it's funny because I become like a good friend of Ron. Speaking of the Maritimes, I become good buds with Ron James. Like I produced another show. I put him on yesterday. Like
okay.
literally yesterday, I put him on a show I produce, and I chat with him often. I saw him perform live in December. Yeah, I become a big Ron James bud.
Oh, I've met him before as well. I actually did work at the local community station in Mississauga, um, which was owned by a big corporation, which you probably know the name, but I don't want to really give them too much attention.
Does it start with R?
It does start with R, but I learned a lot of TV production through there just by volunteering my time there, sports, entertainment, and I
Did
remember
you work
doing
with Carolyn Cameron or no? Was that? I mean, I'm trying to think of some people I've had on worked at Mississauga Cable 10 stuff. Like maybe she
Baron
was later.
Nasser.
Oh yeah, she's been over. Yeah.
Yeah, Baron Nasser I worked with,
Okay.
Pooja Honda.
I've met her because I met her at a. Speaking of Simone Denny, I met Pooja at a Electric Circus 30th anniversary
Oh, really?
night, and Simone Denny was the special guest singer.
Francis D'Souza and I were good friends for a
Oh, I
while,
know of. I don't never talked to him, but I definitely remember him from City TV. Yeah.
and I found out working with him that we went to the same high school. Uh, so,
Okay. You never know.
Sean Majumder went to my high
Oh,
school,
there's a big name for
from
you
what I
right
know,
there.
who I'd really like to get on the show someday. Um, Gurdeep Ahluwalia, who hosts the
Ah,
morning show. Yeah, I worked with him.
I know him pretty well too. Tried to get him on, and Rogers. Oh, am I allowed to say that name? They
Yeah,
basically
yeah.
refused him permission to come on.
I've worked with Jason Agnew over the years.
Oh, I've known him since he was in high school at Bishop Allen Academy. Yeah, I know him a
Yeah,
long time.
I worked with him for a while.
Hey, shout out to Bite TV.
Yeah, well, he worked on a show we did called Daytime. So he hosted
Sounds,
that for a little while.
yeah, he does. He's like a go-to host guy. He has a trivia show Sunday mornings on 1010 here in Toronto.
Yeah, he's
But
fantastic. I love him.
he's the was the wrestling guy, live
Yeah,
audio
he's a
wrestling.
big wrestling guy. Um, but yeah, a lot of people I worked with, though, I did that for 20 years volunteering there.
Okay,
And
good.
I've always gotten a kick out of seeing the people that I worked with move on to bigger things, whether it be on air, behind the scenes.
He was
Um,
my brother's bud in high school. That's how I knew him because I have a my brother's the same age. They were born in '78, and they were friends in high school. And another friend from that same high school class in Etobicoke, this um, what did I call it again? Bishop Allen Academy, I guess it was called, but is Justin Rutledge, who is a great
really?
Canadian musician. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I
And
thought
also,
that
Justin is Dave Hodges' favorite musician of all time.
really, I didn't know that.
You got to listen to Toronto Mike for these tidbits.
Yeah, I usually put it on when I'm at work and there's not much going on, and I
Oh.
keep it on in the background, and I just, like I said, I love listening to it. It's You have the most eclectic guests, I think, too.
And Jason
Um,
Agnew, huge Bare Naked Ladies fan from back in the day. He used to go on those cruises, like those
yeah, that's
Bare
right
Naked
too.
Ladies cruises.
I was a big fan of the trivia show when I was back in Ontario, but I can't call in and win anymore because I don't live in Ontario anymore. So, but that's okay. Are you familiar with Ed Sousa?
Yeah, he came over. You can't miss his hat. But
No.
he came over and then you know what happened was I had Midge Year on the show. So Midge Year from Ultravox. And Midge was going to play the Elma combo where I'm playing on May 21st. Get your tickets now. But
Okay.
Midge Year was doing a concert. And then I believe, I hope I don't have my stories mixed up. I believe it was Ed's 60th birthday party at the same place at the same
Mhm.
time or something. So I was there. Like I crashed the party. I watched Mid Year and met Ed. And then I said, Ed, you got to come over and answer my questions because I got to talk about this, all these 80s bands that are playing at the bowling alley in Mississauga.
Mhm.
And he did. He came over and yeah, he books Spoons all the time. He books Honeymoon Suite all the time.
Right.
He's
He's had
Strange
Haywire on there
Advance.
too.
Yeah,
Haywire's been over there.
Lee Aaron.
Yep, who I've interviewed as well. She was one of
Yeah.
my favorite interviews. She actually put me on her guest list when she came to Moncton.
Oh, wow.
So that was something I never thought I'd
She's a
get.
Karen. You know this, right? She's a Karen.
I didn't.
Yeah,
I
because
didn't
Lee
know that.
Aaron was the name of the band.
Oh, really?
And she just sort of like Alice Cooper, kept the name of the band.
That's cool. Who else? Oh, yeah, I've interviewed Ed about the
Yeah,
bowling alley shows and the
right.
charity stuff that he does.
Oh,
And
the Ronald McDonald House.
yeah, and I've actually interviewed Mid-Year twice myself,
Oh my, get out of here.
which is was huge for me. I couldn't believe I was talking to that man. And I know there's a lot of people I know that don't even know who he was, but the second I say, do they know it's Christmas? Oh, okay, I know that.
That's right. I'm watching this HBO show and it's called Industry. And there was this kind of intense end of an episode set to the song Vienna by Ultravox. And it was like a perfect needle drop. I'm telling you, that song, man, that's a hauntingly beautiful song, Vienna.
Absolutely is. Yeah, and if you ever heard him play it live, it's even better.
Well, you know what? I gotta say though, I saw it live. But what he does now is I guess to save money or whatever, he put the band on a laptop.
Yeah,
So he plays everything on a laptop and then he sings to it. And to me, it's basically glorified karaoke.
I guess you could say that, but I mean, you got to understand, like, I mean, it's such an expensive, it's not the same industry it was in the 80s and 90s where you could make money by touring. You've got to, I don't know, it's a lot of money to travel with a full band and, you
Well,
know,
then I don't know, pick up a local band. I think it's like, that's not my problem. Like,
right.
you know what I mean? That's not my problem. More money for Midge because he doesn't pay a band. Like, that's not my problem.
But even the Grapes of Wrath were doing that. They were doing an acoustic duo thing.
Yeah, I saw
And
them.
that
Yeah.
they came to Charlottetown to do their show, and it was absolutely incredible. Like I loved it. But I mean, they have to do that too because it's not,
Right.
It's not, it's very expensive to travel with a whole band, whereas like when it's just two guys with acoustic guitars, there's very little setup and it's
There's another song, Hauntingly Beautiful Canadian Jam, All the Things I Wasn't.
fantastic song.
No.
That whole album now and again is probably, I'd put that in the top five of some of my favorite albums of all time.
Well, do you want to do your favorite 5 Canadian albums of all time? Do you want to do it?
Oh, yeah, I could try and put that together in no order.
Right.
I would actually put Now and Again by Grapes of Wrath
Okay.
in there. Um, Snow in June by Northern Pikes. I love that band.
I was just thinking of them actually. What's the? Give me a second to try to remember the. What's the song? There's a song. It's gonna. You know what? I know you don't edit, so I'm just gonna sound like an idiot. But there's a song
No,
that'll come to me later. But there's a bunch of big hits from that band that I do adore. Yeah.
She Ain't Pretty,
No, it
Teen
wasn't my.
Land,
No, keep going.
Kiss Me You Fool.
No, keep going. It was a big
Um,
hit earlier than like She's a Girl with a Problem and all that.
okay. When Your Hopes Go Astray.
Nope. See, I could
Um,
Google this, but I'm gonna make you name more. You
okay.
keep going.
Um, yeah, not Teen Land. Oh,
Nope.
the things I do for money.
There it is.
Is that
Yeah,
the one?
that's the
Yeah.
one.
Oh,
The things I
fantastic
do for
song.
money, I'll never understand.
Yep.
Used to be yeah, that's the jam. Couldn't remember the damn title though. To save my life there.
I'd also have to put 5 Days in May by Blue Rodeo. Like, it's a Canadian classic. Like, I mean, is there a song on that album that isn't great?
But what are your thoughts on huge, like bigger Canadian bands like the Tragically Hip?
Fantastic. I love the
I wonder
Tragically
if
Hip.
they'd make your top five.
Up to Here would probably make that.
Yeah,
I
love
love
that
that
one.
record, and I'm putting a Stomp and Tom album in there because I feel I learned a lot about Canadian history through Tom.
Okay.
The My Stomping Grounds album, I think every Canadian should own it. I mean, there's a song about Will Carter, who no one would know about if it wasn't for Stomp and Tom. He wrote a song about Lot May, the pilot from World War I, that no one really knew about. He did that song called Name the Capitals, which told everybody the
Right.
capitals of our country. Like, I mean, that it's just a fantastic record. It really is a Canadian history lesson. If you don't have it, I recommend listening to it. But
Honestly.
top five. But I haven't put anything in by my favorite Canadian band, which was Spirit of the West.
Oh, geez. Okay. I did talk to the drummer and the manager, Vince Didtrick.
Yes, Vince did. I have talked to him as well, and you don't realize the people he's played for. He played with Sue Medley.
Yeah.
He's been on Super Dave, which is even better. Um,
Do you know who was Super Dave's driver when he was filming in Aging Court Scarborough here?
I did not know.
It was Tyler Stewart.
Really, I did not know that. That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, Spirit of the West I've seen over 20 times.
Wow.
I actually became kind of friends with them. Vince actually set up that I proposed to my wife at one of their shows.
That's amazing. But
Yeah.
that's so it's funny. I mentioned hip. We lost scored so soon. We lost John Mann so freaking far too soon. Great band, and I love that song. So political.
Oh, it's a fantastic song. Everyone talks about Home for a Rest,
Yeah.
but Political is probably one, and Venice is Sinking is one of my
Yeah.
favorites of all time. Beautiful music. But here's the funny thing. I mentioned this to a lot of people. Do you realize in the same year we lost Rush, The Tragically Hip, and Spirit of the West?
No, I actually do realize that. But yeah, that's all three bands. Yeah, that's
And I put Spirit of the West in that grouping because I think they were as important to Canada as any of those other two.
the most shocking thing about Spirit of the West is that they were from Western Canada because they presented as a maritime style band.
Yeah, but I mean they did a lot of Toronto stuff. I remember seeing them at an anniversary show for the Horseshoe. They played there 3 nights in a row. I remember seeing them at Lee's Palace. They were everywhere. Like, I mean, I used to see them whenever they came to the Toronto area. I went to see them. That's why I saw them so many times, and I got to know them as people, and they were fantastic people as well. And they know everybody too. They know everybody from the odds to,
Yeah.
they're friends with everybody on the list.
5440.
5440.
Name all the Vancouver bands.
And they know a lot of the Ontario bands too. They were friends with Blue Rodeo.
Yeah.
Just they're just fantastic people. They're friends with Great Big Sea. They've toured with them, two ends of the country right there. So
Love
um,
Great Big.
I've
Yeah.
always thought they were an underrated band. They did have a documentary. I don't know if you saw it. It was it's available on YouTube. It's called Spirit Unforgettable.
I have to look it up because I would watch that. I would watch that.
I think you should. It's fantastic. There's interviews with the Odds. There's interviews with Paul Hyde from the
Of course.
Payolas
Rock and Hide.
because he produced their first record. Um,
You've got the eyes of a
that's
stranger.
that's right. And Bob Rock, of course, started in that band as well. Who's
Bob Rock. There you go. He was a big mind blow in the tragically hip four episode documentary series that dropped on Prime.
he
Bob
was
Rock.
that was a great documentary too. Like
Yes.
I was really enjoying the early years when they touched on all the early years before, when they were still in Kingston and stuff like that and trying
Yeah.
to break through. It was absolutely amazing. Um, but
Yes.
stuff I didn't know. I didn't know that story about being offered the Tower Records thing. I wasn't aware of that either.
That was a mind blow. Great documentary. And Alan, this chat was great because I feel like we could hook up and just chat for 45 minutes about Canadian music whenever you want.
Well, we should do a part two then.
Okay.
And if you'd ever like me to be on your show, I'd be happy to.
Yeah, you can have Blair's spot. We do a quarterly thing called Rewinder. I feel like it should be Alan and Toronto Mike, and we'll boot Blair.
You let me know. Um, I'll put some fun stuff in the link in the description of this video, some links to your stuff, and
Oh, amazing.
we'll go from there. And hopefully to talk to you again sometime. This is great. Like we could go
Well,
on
listen,
forever,
thank
couldn't
you
we?
for listening. Like you said such kind things about my podcast, and then, you drop some big names on me. And I mean, you talked to Midgear twice, okay? I was
Yeah,
I thought I was lucky man to get him one time. You had him twice. So, I would say keep doing what you're doing because you got the spirit in you. And, any friend of Rick Emmett, any friend of Blair Packham is a friend of mine. Amazing.
great to talk to you, sir. I appreciate your time.
All right. Peace and love to Alan Dalton.
Yes, thank you very much, Mike.